Imports of both used clothing and ready-made apparels, both legal and illegal, continue to undermine local textile and garment producers. Many of them have been forced to shut down their operations for being unable to compete.
Illegal imports of used clothing continue to rise due to the high consumer demand for affordable, branded second-hand items, the growing popularity of online thrifting businesses, the lack of effective law enforcement, and the existence of organized smuggling networks. While the increase in illegal imports use of clothing benefits consumers as it gives them another alternative to more affordable branded products, it hurts local textile industries, especially garment producers. They face growing competition not only in the export market but also in the domestic market. According to a Tempo report, throughout 2024 until 2025, the Customs and Excise Office seized 49.44 billion rupiah worth of smuggled used clothing. In the early August, the Customs and the Excise Office, in collaboration with the Indonesian Navy, thwarted the smuggling of 747 boxes of clothing and clothing accessories and 8 boxes of used bags worth 1.5 billion rupiah at Tanjung Priok Port, North Jakarta. Generally, these used clothes are smuggled through the both large and small ports in border areas. Businessmen in the textile industry consider the illegal import task force established by the government ineffective and even failed to curb illegal imports, particularly used clothing. However, strangely, despite the government's ban on imports of used clothing imports are still recorded in the Central Statistic Agency or BPS reports. According to BPS data, value of used clothing imports reached $1.31 million from January to July 2025, a 177% increase from $473,340 in the same period last year. This figure is nearly identical to the value of used clothing imports in 2024, which reached $1.5 million in 2023. The value of used clothing imports was only $25,759, down from $272,146 million in 2022. According to the Ministry of Trade, used clothing imports recorded in BPS data report are not for commercial purposes, but are personal clothing belonging to individuals moving from abroad or belonging to embassies or international agencies. However, the question remains, why is the value so high and continuing to rise? The rampant sale of used clothing, both legally and illegally imported, is just one of the problems plaguing the Indonesian textile industry. The most significant impact is the import of ready-made clothing, both new and used, the value of which is quite large and continue to rise. Ready-made clothing imports not only impact garment producers, it disrupts the entire industrial chains, not just garment production. According to data from the Indonesian Filament Yarn and Fiber Producer Association, at least 60 local textile companies have collapsed over the past 2 years. For being unable to compete, leaving around 250,000 employees unemployed. The Association of Small and Medium Enterprises is urging the government to provide support to small and medium-sized industry or SMEs in the textile sector, from guaranteeing market access to cracking down on illegal imports. IPKB Chairman Nandi Herdiaman said that garment producers are currently under pressure due to the massive flooding of textile products in the market, leading to a decline in demand for garment factories.
Illegal imports of used clothing benefits consumers as it gives them an alternative to affordable branded products. However, the influx of the used clothing further hurts apparel producers who are struggling to survive amid rising competition both at home and overseas. Today, our guest, Eisha Rachbini, Program Director at INDEF. She will share her insight about the unresolved problem in the textile industry in the country. Hello, Ibu Eisha. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Hello, thank you, Mbak Valeria.
All right. Most of the country's textile producers are struggling due to rising competition in both overseas and local markets. In your opinion, what are the core problems of the country's textile industry so far?
Okay, right. Thank you for the chance to be here to share my point of views about the textile industries. But before that, I would like to highlight about the manufacturing industries in general as well. It was the largest contribution to GDP. But however, nowadays, we know that the Indonesia manufacturing contribution to GDP has been declining as well. It's the indication of the premature industrializations that we currently face right now. We see that previously the share of manufacturing sectors have been like 35% of GDP once we had before. But now it's consistently under 20%. If we look at why this happening, because first we have to look at to the productivity of these sectors. There are evidence or facts that the productivity itself are decreasing. Why? Because first we need to look at to the inputs they use in the production. That the input they use is increasing so significantly. For example, like they no longer use cheap production on the labor cost. For example, the Indonesian labor wages are comparing to the other countries are higher. And then the second thing is that the quality of the labor itself. The studies we have observed that human capital in Indonesia, mainly about 1/3 of the labor force in Indonesia are undereducated. So it means that the skill required in the production is not matched or below the standard itself. So this is one of the most important things that makes low productivity and competitiveness. And the second things are the costs, such as like energy costs. It also huge or higher than other countries. And then we also see that in the input itself in the textile industries, they use highly depend on imported components and also materials. When the rupiah are fluctuating so much, it will impact on the high cost of input they use in the production. So that's one of there are several things also about the demand and global supply as well, take part in this lower production in the industrial sector. So we know that very tight competition from our competitors like Vietnam, China, and then this in the global situation as well, we see lower demand on such consumer goods because of high inflations. Slowing down economy also take part in this lower competitiveness of Indonesian textile industry. So many factors that play important things on our industrial textile in Indonesia.
All right. Thank you for explaining those factors that are influencing the textile industry so far in Indonesia. But one of the issues in the influx of cheap use clothes, despite long-standing prohibitions against such imports. Why do they continue to flood the Indonesian market despite the ban?
Okay, as I mentioned before, Marina, that Indonesia consumers right now are struggling as well with the purchasing power because of high inflation, and our income is not increasing so much. So our purchasing power are stagnant or low, becoming decreasing. That it creates a demand for cheap fashion goods or cheap clothings, that we can see about how we can, in economy we see that demand creates its own supply. So when there is lack of enforcement in the regulation and laws, so that it will encourage more illegal conduct of behavior, such as in this case, illegal import of uh, clothing, yeah, used clothing coming to Indonesia. So if there is still demand in the market. We see that consumer would like to buy cheap product, would buy to cheap yet trendy clothings, trendy fashion products, branded goods. But however, we see in addition, we see also there are changing consumer preferences in terms of people now, or especially young generation, also see that thrifting is a kind of cool lifestyle behavior as well. So,
Okay. The government has established a task force to fight against illegal imports of used clothing, but it seems ineffective. So, who is to blame in this case?
yeah. So it's about the lack of the task force, right? So I think there's no need to blame, but the thing is the implementation of the task force itself. Yeah, we need to conduct more effort to implement the regulations. So how to do this? I think we need to conduct more action, yeah, to for this task force to do their job. For example, they need to enhance like border supervisions to really see whether there is misconduct or misconduct on the legal action. Yeah, for example, we can also put more efforts on investing on technological or using technology, digital AI for improving the monitoring systems. So I think by using this kind of effort, more basis on technology, I think we can do or implement more effectively.
Problems also come from imports of ready-made clothing, which have also affected the country's textile industry ecosystem. Do you think there's a need to impose a restriction? And if so, what kind of restriction can be easily implemented?
Well, in my opinion, in this case, yeah, if we would like to increase our export, to increase our production, we need to be more open. In the case that in more borderless kind of globalized world trading right now, there's no need to, I mean, more restriction on some kind of sectors, because this would make this will impact on our productivity itself. Why? Because in this case we need to increase our productivity. There's no need for our production to restrict. For example, like we need more human capital, or we need more technology. So what we need to do is require more capital, right? So the trade policy need to be more open to make our productivity increasing by attract more investment, to bring technology, to bring more capital that are required for increasing our productivity.
All right, not so much on restrictions, but bring more investment to Indonesia in terms of technology, for example. Thank you very much, Ibu Eisha Rachbini, for joining us today.